So the devs have done a live stream in their official Discord talking about the changes coming to the next patch on the 25th of August, including a big nerf to Vigil, some changes to the Judgment, and a complete revamp of the MMR system. So let's quickly talk about it. So the developer stream started with the devs talking about the cheating problems in the game, with first explaining what happens with the cheating reports. The devs ask all players that, in the case there is a cheating problem in your matches, to make sure that when you report it, do it as specific as possible, with examples being like, saw the survivor jumping, instead of just writing cheating, and that's it. Another thing that helps a lot is if you record the problem happening, as that is almost a guarantee that the players will be banned. Now, as for what the devs are doing, they will be trying an anti-cheat trials for the live game, where they will be testing out new anti-cheat features for the game, where you can opt in on Steam, which doesn't work on crossplay, and see if that helps combat cheaters without causing any problems to the players. They cannot share any specifics today, but they will be sharing everything about it next week. Seeing the devs doing such a big push against the cheating problem makes me wonder if they are preparing something in the backend to release the game as free to play with the new graphical update. One can hope. And now we have various changes for the Judgment, as there are various impactful changes to their power. First of all, the devs added new visuals to the ball in the Judgment's hand for when the power is at its maximum strength. When you see the electric sparks from the ball, that means the pillar, when casted, will damage survivors. And this is helpful to time the beams correctly, as this was a problem in the PTB for some players. Next up, when the divine light downs a survivor further than 18 meters, their location will be revealed by Killer Instinct, to make it easier to find them after sniping them or curving the beam. Not only that, now when you barely miss a survivor, you will also get Killer Instinct just like the add-on. However, if you are not a fan of this feature, you can disable it in the menu for the first time ever. And now I am begging the devs to add the crosshair option for all the range killers in the game, or at least make the add-ons part of this feature. Now, regarding the brown add-on that already did this for the Judgment, as far as I am aware, it remains unchanged, so maybe it will be reworked in a future bug fix. Next up, this could be a potentially big nerf to the Judgment, but now survivors are able to see the beam approaching once casted, to make it easier for survivors to dodge it behind walls, in the case they are cleansing totems. This will be a nerf to the sniping capabilities of Judgment, and we will have to test it out in game to see how impactful it is. Finally, while this is hard to visually explain, the pillar light curving feature is now capped at 0.3 in all cases, making it more consistent to curve. Apparently, in the past, the curving feature depended on when you started to curve the beam, either at the beginning making it way more curvier, or at the end, making it less curvy. So now it will be the same for all charges, meaning that it will be easier to dominate this power and make it more consistent. Next up, we have exile changes to make it much more brutal compared to before. The pillars that appear in the exile will be much more punishing to get hit by, as now they will make the exile duration much less, reducing it by 3 seconds. Not only that, you will now be immune to them for only 0.5 seconds, so you can get hit twice. But to compensate, they will now spawn further away from each other, so they won't bombard the same spots frequently, instead being more spread out. Now let's talk about the part I am the most excited for, and that is the extra balance changes. So as of now, the devs are fully implementing the elusive status effect on unhooks just to test it out if this is going to be a good idea for anti-tunneling protections. This might be temporal or not, depending on the impact it does to the game, as the devs want to test it out with a bigger sample size, especially with the casuals on console, as there is no PTB on there. Next up, Nowhere to Hide is getting its 24 meters range back. However, now the perk only works on the generator instead of moving with the killer. Amazing change, and the perk should have worked like this from the start. Repressed Alliance now only requires you to repair the generator for 30 seconds in order to activate the perk for 15 seconds on command. I swear people will be sleeping on this perk, as it's a hard counter to various of the killer's regression perks and even a counter to Nowhere to Hide and Pain Resonance. And finally, by far what I am most happy about, Vigil is finally getting gutted. Now, it only does 30% of exhaustion and that's it, no longer affecting killer powers or perks with status effects. To tell you in math forms, old Vigil made Sprint Burst have a 24 seconds cooldown instead of 40. Now, it's going to be 30 seconds, removing 10 seconds just like it was back in the days. Remember that Sprint Burst also got nerfed in the PTB, so in other words, Sprint Burst Vigil combo is going to be significantly weaker compared to before, so survivors will change it to Light or Dead Hard instead. And the final showcase they have done is related to MMR, as it's going to dramatically change with the new patch of the Judgment. In the past, MMR worked based on escapes and kills. If you escape as a survivor, it counts like you won. If the killer kills 3 survivors or more, it counts as a win. Hatch escapes are neutral. It doesn't reduce nor increase MMR. With the new system, only 3 things are kept from the old system. First of all, killers will keep their individual MMR like in the past, and survivors will all have the same one regardless of the character you use, as they are all skins. The MMR will still compare between the killer and the survivor to see how much points you win or lose. And most importantly, wait times will still be the priority compared to MMR accuracy. So if the game can find you players fast, even if the MMR is not exactly the same, it will still do it. Now, MMR will be based on the actions of the emblems just like it was back in the days, with the new system taking into consideration the actions you do in the game. For survivors, the examples will be completing generators, unhooking other survivors, being chased for long periods of time, or escaping the match. For killers, it will be stuff like regressing generators, injuring and downing survivors, downing them quick, or sacrificing them all. An example they showed is a Dwight who did 3 generators on their own, got 5 unhooks, as well as healed the team various times, had a 10-minute chase, but in the endgame, they got hooked and died. Well, with the new system, they may still gain MMR despite dying, because the system will take everything into consideration. Say, for example, that instead of getting 100 points, they only get 75, which is still a win, whereas in the past, this Dwight would have the match considered as a complete loss. What I like about this system the most is that ratting is no longer rewarded, as in the past, you could just play in the safest way possible, take 0 risks at all, and eventually escape in the endgame because that would guarantee that you get a win. Meanwhile, this would only punish players that were more altruistic or did gens instead of hiding. This new system, as they confirmed, comes out on the 25th, and most importantly, there will be a massive MMR reset, so everyone will start from 0 in order to calculate the new numbers using the new system. And that's about all. Additionally, I might be streaming on Twitch on the 25th in order to showcase Judgment, and you will be able to earn some free drops just by tuning in. So make sure to stay tuned. Let me know if you are happy with the changes from PTB to live, as well as all this new information. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.